If they try and push us back to 2020, if they try to make us adopt the same kind of lifestyle that we had to adopt last year, we should simply say no. We should simply refuse. Knowing what we know now, with all of the information and technology at our disposal to combat COVID, it would be a mistake to shut the country down again. We have played the game for long enough, we have catered to it long enough, and now it's time to say no. Because there is a chance in the near future, because of the COVID-19 Delta variant, we could see similar lockdowns and mandates take place. And we should be prepared to draw a line and say no. And this is coming a year and a half. Over the course of a year and a half, where we saw a lot of inconsistencies. And if you were already skeptical about the dangers of COVID-19, the inconsistency put on display by Fauci, the CDC, and our government has made the skepticism even worse. To name a few things, let's start with the masks. Originally, it was supposed to be that nobody had to wear a mask. And then it was everybody should wear a mask. Then everybody should wear 2 masks at the same time. And we went from that to, if you are fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. But now they are encouraging people to wear a mask even if they have been fully vaccinated. If you go to the CDC website and look under the guidelines for fully vaccinated people, they are encouraging people to wear a mask in their own household if they live with somebody that is unvaccinated. So we are taking a huge step backwards. And they've already trampled over everything else. So why on earth? Do not bring this into your home. Do not wear a mask in your own house simply because you're living with somebody who is unvaccinated. Another thing they didn't do very well from early on last year. They did not make solid decisions based upon the population and location of specific areas. Because of the amount of alarmism that we saw, nobody was able to distinguish the difference between living in New York and living in rural America. So what happened was the entire country was kind of blanketed in this common rule of law where everybody saw similar mandates, everybody saw similar lockdowns, and it didn't make any sense. And to a certain extent, I can understand why New York would see heavier mandates, more lockdowns, because there's a higher population per square mile. People are living on top of each other. So that at least makes some sense to me. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, I live in Indiana. I can drive 5 minutes in multiple directions and be smack dab in the middle of a cornfield. Why do I have to live like the people in New York? Nobody was able to make a solid decision. Nobody was able to see the difference based upon population and location. Another thing they were not able to do. They were not able to make solid decisions based upon age demographics. From early on in COVID-19, during COVID-19, it was pretty well understood that it was going to be of primary danger to the elderly. But despite that, everybody saw the similar quarantines. Everybody saw the similar mandates, even demographics that were much less susceptible to COVID-19. And if you go to the CDC website, almost 80% of COVID deaths happened in the age group of 65 years of age or older, while only 3% happened in the age group of 45 and younger. So why are we considering? Why are people talking about shutting down corporate America again. Shutting down adults and young adults, the working class, it should not happen. From the very beginning, the elderly should have quarantined, while the younger demographics, those that had a much less likely chance of dying from COVID, they should have been able to return to work. And for all of those people out there who are thinking that we should shut down the schools again, you need to seriously take a look at what's going on. Over the course of 2020 and thus far in 2021, only 340 people have died within the age group of 0 to 17 years of age. 340. That is 0.00056% of all COVID deaths. And that's if your child gets it. So there should be no discussions about shutting down the schools again. We should not be talking about hindering the learning of our young people and sending them back home. It makes no sense. And I understand people who are scared and people who might not understand, and I don't even understand all of it, but you need to ask yourself the question. Actually, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions. You need to ask yourself, can you sustain your livelihood through another 6 months of shutdowns? Can you sustain your financial stability? Can your church survive without the people meeting for 6 months? Can your business survive while being shut down or bringing in a fraction of the revenue? These are all things you have to take into consideration. And to me, the data just does not suggest that we shouldn't have the lockdowns. But it certainly shows that we should not have the same amount of alarmism and the same amount of fear that we did last year. We should be able to handle things differently, which is why if our government tries to handle things the same way they handled them last year, we should refuse. They don't have a great argument, at least not anymore. And we should not give them the benefit of a doubt. This is not about protecting people. This is about control. This is about fear. This is about they are testing the American people, trying to see how far they can go. And what it needs to be is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And there needs to be a point where we are not willing to play along. We are not willing to just give in and bow down to all this stuff. There needs to be a point where we say enough is enough. We put our foot down and we say no. Because if this could go on and on and on. There could be another variant, or there could be something else, or there could be this, or there could be that, and they would always have a reason. There will, because they've already seen it, they've seen how many people were subject to it. There will always be a reason for them to have more control than they should have in the lives of the American people. And so, before it gets out of hand, before we see something worse, we just need to say no. This needs to be the end of handling things in an improper manner. This needs to be the end of the fear-mongering. This needs to be the end of the nonsense. And we should not be afraid to go against the grain a little bit and say enough is enough.